For the longest I can remember, have always been a huge fan of the Dark Knight trilogy, and I probably am an overwhelmingly large fan, partly because of how I watched the first one. Batman Begins. It kind of gets looked over a lot because it was pre-Joker, and most people, when they talk about the Dark Knight trilogy, really just want to focus on Heath Ledger in the Joker, which is an amazing performance, but we're going to save that for another day because I want to give you guys a little bit of perspective on what the first time I watched Batman Begins was like. So, for one, I was pretty young, okay? I did not see it in the theater. I was not old enough at the time, but my dad liked to do these little movie theater experiences. He would have a little projector from work that he would bring home, and we would put a big bed sheet on the living room wall. And it was basically how we felt like, the movie was a big deal. We'd hook it up to a powerful sound system. And back then, we didn't really have like huge flat screens. So the at home theater experience was pretty cool. And my mom and dad and a few other family members basically started the movie without telling me. I have no clue why. Maybe they did tell me and I wasn't interested. I can't remember. All I do remember is walking in and not realizing what the movie was. I didn't know what the title was, and I didn't even realize how far into the movie we were. Now, thankfully, the movie had actually just started, and I had only really missed the first couple minutes, but I had no clue if this was the middle of the movie, the end of the movie. I just thought it was some, Academy Award-winning action flick because there were these serious actors, and Christian Bale was, stuck in this prison, and Liam Neeson showed up, and I'm like, hey, is that Qui-Gon Jinn? Oh, I know Qui-Gon Jinn from Star Wars. Okay, I want to keep watching this. It just seems like some epic, it looked like Gladiator or some type of spy movie that was, far away from civilization and stuff. And I just started watching it. And I thought this might be, like a high class, movie for adults because I was just a kid. And other thing to keep in mind, I was also not really a big Batman fan before walking in on this movie. I did not read comic books growing up. I did not watch that many Batman cartoons, none that I can remember. So I was vaguely aware that Batman existed. I'd seen him on posters and merchandise and stuff, but I did not follow the character before this movie at all. So as the story went on and he, goes to Ra's al Ghul and starts training and starts confronting his fears, I just feel like this is a really great character growth story because we're flashing back to what I found out later was, just parts of the movie of him as a child, but I didn't know if these were flashbacks to parts of the movie I wasn't present for, so I wasn't sure if we were at the end of the movie or not. But as weird as it sounds, it actually made the movie more interesting because I did not realize when we were in the middle, when the end was coming. And as the movie progressed, I just thought, wow, this is cool. Qui-Gon Jinn is training this new guy and they're teaching him martial arts and they're teaching him how to fight and all that. And it's really interesting, but he also has these moral boundaries. And it got me really attached to the character of Bruce Wayne. And I know this sounds stupid, but again, I was not really aware of Batman back when I first watched this, and I didn't know about the name Bruce Wayne or Thomas Wayne or Martha Wayne, so I just thought this was a movie just talking about a guy who kind of becomes an assassin or a well-trained ninja, and as the movie progresses and as he comes back and he escapes Ra's al Ghul and turns out he has all this money and he has all this knowledge now, it slowly starts to hit me, oh, wait a minute, this is a superhero movie. But I didn't even realize it while watching it. And there were probably very few people that watched Batman Begins with this thought process because most people were likely renting it or watching it, or they were big fans of Batman before and now they were going into it saying, hey, Chris Nolan is kind of giving Batman this new realistic and modern day twist because the Batman movies before Batman Begins were very cheesy, very comical, and definitely a completely different tone than what Chris Nolan was going for. So as the movie progressed, he starts, wearing a mask. He starts buying this new gear and starts getting this cape. And basically, I didn't find out until halfway through the movie that this was a Batman movie, and I have no clue why my parents or nobody told me that it was a Batman movie, or maybe I just wasn't listening. That's also very possible. But this experience of watching the character grow and watching him face his fears while at the same time wanting to have boundaries for I do not kill. That is the line I draw, and I may fight for justice, but at the same time, I'm not going to end someone's life because, my parents died, and death is kind of a cold-hearted, salted wound fun for me, and he wants things to be brought to justice and he wants order, but he's got the money and he's got the willpower to do it outside of the law. And I found this a really interesting way to be introduced to the character as a whole. So by the time the movie was ending, I was like, wow, I did not even realize I was watching a superhero movie. And now that I realize I realize how realistic and believable Chris Nolan made a movie like this. And I think that's where a lot of my love from Chris Nolan originally stemmed, was just realizing that he could make a somewhat campy, kind of cheesy character into something scary and something believable. And the way bad guys were basically like scared when Batman showed up, and how intimidating he could make his voice. And I'm also really, really grateful that in the first movie of the Dark Knight trilogy, they didn't start off with the Joker, because that's the most famous, like most well-known Batman villain. And Chris Nolan was able to make a compelling movie that, in my opinion, held my interest and gave us a lot of character to work with the persona of Bruce Wayne. It wasn't just, oh, he fights crime at night, but also he's a rich playboy. No, they gave the actual Bruce Wayne character some emotion and some performance that Christian Bale really brought to that role. And they did all of that without the Joker stealing the show, because ever since The Dark Knight came out, it honestly feels like if you don't have the Joker, people aren't even that interested in what the character has to do, and everything just turns back into how hard can he punch people. But I'll save those thoughts for another video. But anyway, I just wanted to share with you guys the fact that when I first watched Batman Begins, I had no clue it was a Batman movie, and that's what made it so interesting to me, is it did not feel like a superhero movie. And Chris Nolan kind of pioneered that idea in cinema for me. And there's other movies I've also walked in on in the past and had no clue how long the movie had been going or what the plot was. So I'll talk about those more in the future if you guys like this one. If you don't, all right, slap dislike, unsubscribe. That's fair. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye.